That spectacular amphibian chorus can be heard during the winter all over the beef farm I am visiting today. Andrew Irvine is the sixth generation of Irvines on the site, which is near Peterborough in southwest Victoria. He and his wife Di moved into the old house to manage the farm 4 years ago, in 2018. Thanks to fencing off the many swamps on his property, the frogs are thriving, and their songs have become a favourite noise for the farmer.
The farm was very run down when I took it over here, so I've been doing a lot of mixed species within my pastures. I'm trying to target a pasture that'll grow all year round rather than just your ryegrass clover, which is a winter dominant spring, and then it goes off in the summer. And just with the changing climate, I guess, getting more summer rainfall, drier autumns, wetter winters. So I've been targeting something that'll grow all year round, which you're just growing the Cocksfoot, which is deep rooted, especially here on our sandy country. We just have trouble with ryegrass surviving on the hills, if you get that dry period. And chicory's been sort of the big thing here, which has been fantastic, really. Good deep rooted mineral, high in minerals, high in protein. It's that's providing my protein through the summer when I don't have any. So keeps the weaners ticking along with that. The Cocksfoot is also providing that feed as well.
These days, Andrew runs between 700 and 1,000 Angus cattle over 950 acres. The soil is mostly a sandy loam, and cattle troughs are filled by bore water. Keen to improve the pasture, he has introduced various improvements, such as using a pig manure compost on the sandy hills to help build the soil. He is also a fan of mixed species paddocks. At the moment, half the farm's grazing is mixed species, with an emphasis on Cocksfoot. Cocksfoot, or Dactylis glomerata, to give it its proper name, was pioneered as a pasture species by a posh English bloke known as Coke of Norfolk, hence the name, I suppose. By 1793, Thomas Coke, first Earl of Leicester, claims to have so improved his English estate that he was able to increase his sheep flock from 700 to 2,400. But he was a politician as well as an agricultural reformer, so perhaps we should take this with a pinch of salt. Cocksfoot is a cool season perennial C3 grass, native to Europe, temperate Asia and northern Africa, so it no doubt made its way to Australia early in colonial history.
We've always had this Cocksfoot, a lot of Cocksfoot stuff up the back in the sandiest sort of stuff, which has persisted. So that's sort of why I put Cocksfoot back in. A lot of the dairy guys don't like using because they just don't think they get the production, the milk off it. But obviously my system's a bit different to theirs. I wanted something to persist, and I didn't, the cost of resowing every 5 years, it just doesn't stack up commercially to me in a grazing enterprise at all.
Andrew's land borders the Bay of Islands State Park on the Great Ocean Road. The spectacular coastal scenery has enabled him to indulge his favourite hobbies, fishing, diving and surfing. And it has also given him land composed of light, sandy soils.
With my soil type here, we have big troubles with leaching, so using synthetic fertilisers, the percentage of what I'd lose is massive. So, bringing deep-rooted plants into our system, plus compost, those sorts of things, I think are going to have a huge effect on this place. And, holding water capacity here. So, a few hot north winds in November and things can be all over here. Whereas, we build up that organic matter in our soils through the use of plants and compost and other things. I think, it's going to turn the farm around, which it already is. But, that's also been through synthetic fertiliser just to give the farm a quick hit and get it up and going. And then I want to start using these other methods to hold those nutrients there.
Our agronomist, Jade Caloran, told me that Cocksfoot is perfect for Andrew's light sandy soils, but its biomass was best in spring and summer. So when it came to her providing a mix for the Irvine farm, she chose species that will do well in the other months.
So the one we did last year was a multi-species winter mix, which went straight in direct into a rundown pasture. But there was probably too much pasture still there, so it sort of outcompeted a lot of the multi-species stuff. But the chicory really competed, which we've seen. But a lot of the other things like the vetch and what else, plantain, and some of those things really didn't get going. But obviously the ryegrass and the mix and the clovers and the oats pushed through and competed. But I think next time you need a spray top or you need to plough or do some sort of cultivation to just minimise the competition. Whereas this year we've gone in and done other winter multi-species, and this paddock's been fully sprayed out. It's a summer crop paddock and it's been grazed to nothing and sprayed out, and we've gone in with a multi-species, so I think we'll have really good success with it this year.
Andrew planted his second trial mix in April 2022 over 5.5 hectares. The mix included 55 kilograms per hectare of 7.5 kilos of rye, 20 kilos of oats, 15 kilos of vetch, 1 kilo of leafy turnip, half a kilo of linseed, 3 kilo of tillage radish, 3 kilos of red clover, and 2 kilos of white clover. Sandy soil does not do well from heavy tillage, so a disc drill was used for sowing.
If we can get a multi-species crop that'll grow, that we plant in the autumn, we get through winter production, but it'll push in through into the summer. For me, I want to get a mix like that. Otherwise, you have your winter mix and then bang, you go into a summer crop. But a lot of these plants here should persist into the summer, hopefully. Yeah, the seed mix is expensive, but if we can get it going right through into the summer, well, it doesn't look that expensive at all.
Andrew is already a champion of chicory and its obvious health benefits to his cattle.
The chicory for me is just an amazing plant. It's just the health of my stock, is just chalk and cheese. I think the ones that are on the chicory pastures, they're miles ahead of the others, and they're just clean in the coat and less wormy and just don't have any problems. And you'll go into a pasture, it's full of clover, but that chicory there just seems to balance them out. You think they're going to blow up and get bloat, but I don't know. It's just a wonder plant for me.
Andrew has always wanted to be a farmer who is in tune with local nature.
So when I left school, I went jackarooing and worked all around Australia. So went up to the Hay Plains and then up into Queensland and back out in the Western Districts and Western Australia. Worked all over the place, and all I've ever wanted to be is a farmer. We're going to get more regulated, and I think the system, everyone's pushing the system hard and using more fertiliser and more chemical, and production's just sort of starting to hit a peak, and people seem to have to use more inputs to get the same output. So I think that going down, there's got to be alternative ways, because you can't keep your cost of production can't keep going up if your commodity prices aren't. And I just think there's a social license now in farming that the city folk and everyone else is driving, and I think we've got to be on board and be on the front foot, which I think we are as farmers. We cop a lot of rift about it, but I think end of the day, we can be a big part of the solution. And I've always had a big, with the environment, like I love the bush and everything, and I see it all works as one ecosystem. So you need to have a bit of everything for it to, it's a closed loop. I think it needs to be. Yeah. 2
years ago, Andrew joined the board of Heytesbury District Landcare Network as its treasurer. His family have long been involved with Landcare. He's pleased to see the direction HDLN is taking with the 30 farms now involved in the Climate Resilient Farms project.
When it first started up, it was all about tree planting, and there was a real push there, and a lot of farmers got involved, and there was lots of Landcare groups everywhere. And then it feels as if it's just sort of started to deteriorate, and I guess there's been less funding there from the government and everyone else as a push for it. So I think they need a bit of new energy and new blood there, and I've been keen, and Jeff sort of pushed me to get on there. But I think the way how they're targeting now more in this agricultural space and in being more, it's not just about planting trees now. It's the carbon and the regenerative farming and everything is, I think, a new thing to fire up the Landcare again and get farmers more involved and community and everything. So that's just want to be a bit part of that, and I just obviously pushing to do all those sort of things at home.
Andrew has many plans to make his farm not just comfortable for cattle, but carbon neutral and a haven for native wildlife. He's keen to install more solar panels and run an electric vehicle. He's fenced off 16.5 hectares of remnant vegetation and wants to try a cool burn in some of this. As a member of the local CFA, he has the skills. His aim is to get rid of the increasing weeds and hopefully bring back the orchids his father and auntie remember from their days on the farm. Over the last 4 years, he has planted about 12,000 trees as seedlings and many more through direct seeding, creating 9.3 hectares of shelter belts and wildlife corridors. This includes 6 wetland areas which have been fenced off and planted with native shrubs. He continues to restore wetlands which have been drained for grazing. Good news for the farm and the frogs.
To be honest, I haven't lost any production by fencing them off, and only gaining biodiversity and creating wildlife.